Hi, my name is Diya Baldawa, and this is my scoliosis story. So I was diagnosed with scoliosis when I was 4 years old, and I had a spinal curve of 24 degrees, which was just below the bracing threshold, which was about 25 degrees. And from that point on until I was 12 years old, I went for regular doctor's appointments every 6 months for monitoring. And these are some pictures I had like during that phase. So you can see that my posture, I am visibly like slanted a little bit. And we actually ended up missing a checkup appointment during COVID-19. And that same year I hit my growth spurt. So my curve progressed from 24 degrees to 42 degrees. So bracing was unavoidable at that point. My parents did look for alternatives. So we started going to a chiropractor in LA, and during that time school was online for 4 days a week. So what me and my dad would do is from at like 3 in the morning we would drive from San Diego to LA, and I would get like adjusted, but 3 months later there was no change still, so I did start bracing. So here is a picture of me wearing the brace. I was 12 years old, and it was a big part of my daily life at that time. So while wearing the brace, I had to wear my brace for 20 hours a day, and it was definitely uncomfortable at times, especially like wearing it to like public places and school. And I could only take it off when I was like doing sports or showering or things like that. And so here are some pictures of me wearing the brace. And I wore the brace for about a year and a half. So at first my curve did improve, but eventually it did progress again, so surgery was unavoidable. So here is a picture of me before the surgery. I was definitely feeling a mix of emotions. I was nervous, anxious, but I was also super excited I didn't have to wear the brace anymore. Here are some pictures after my surgery. So it was the doctors, nurses, staff, they were all super supportive, and that really helped. And there was a fair amount of pain, but everyone was just so great. And then I do remember I started walking the day of my surgery, and then a day after they did make me climb up a flight of stairs. I think I was in the hospital for 4 days. And obviously the therapy dogs they brought in, they helped a ton too. So here is just pictures of me leaving the hospital, and this was definitely a big milestone. It's kind of just a moment of everything I've gone through, so that was fun. And then here is me at my 2-month post-op appointment with Dr. Newton and my parents. So the x-ray on the right shows my curve before the surgery, and then the x-ray on the left shows it right after. So you can see there is a big visible difference in my curve. And here is how my scar progressed. So the picture on the left is just right after the surgery. That's just how they bandaged it up. And then the picture in the middle shows my scar 2 weeks after my surgery. So that was, we just took the bandage off, so it was kind of healing a little bit. And now the picture on the right is 2.5 years post-op, so the scar is incredibly faded, and I kind of like it. At this point, it's just a part of who I am, so I'm proud of it. And here are just some pictures of me now. I'm doing amazing. I'm so glad I had the surgery. I'm so much more confident in my body. I feel very like relaxed. I'm not worried about my back at all. And just a special shout out to like the staff at Rady's and my parents, my friends, especially Dr. Newton, my surgeon, who has been with me since my journey started at 4 years old. But I'm very grateful to everyone who is there to support me.
Hello, my name is Georgia Karras, and I'm a scoliosis patient. I was diagnosed at the age of 10 years old, and I wore a Boston back brace for 4 years. And I am currently don't need surgery at the moment, but it's a 50-50 chance that I will in the future. I appreciate you sharing your story. It's so inspiring and it shows a perfect example of perseverance. And I know that many scoliosis patients can relate to the ups and downs of the journey. And my question is, can you share what your initial reaction was when you first found out you needed surgery? What helped you mentally prepare for it? And do you have any advice for others on staying strong through the process?
Yeah, I remember I was really scared at first for sure. I thought like the surgery meant I couldn't be myself anymore, and I do remember asking a lot of questions if I'd still be able to like be flexible and because I did a lot of gymnastics and yoga too. So just sports as well. Um, I think something that helped were my parents and like the doctors, they were really calm and reassuring. And things like watching YouTube videos and talking to people helped a lot. I know my mom reached out on a few support groups and I got to talk to some like previous patients who've gone through the surgery, which helped a lot. My initial reaction was just kind of numb because I've gone through the journey for a while. So at some point, I knew it was coming, and I had a long time to mentally prepare. But some advice I have is that I guess you should let yourself feel nervous, but don't be afraid to ask for help because talking to people and just hearing about how like they were okay after definitely helps a lot.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for sharing. And then my next question is, you mentioned experiencing some discomfort during bracing. Were there any tips or tricks that helped you feel more comfortable or adjust to it better?
Yeah, so definitely wearing like a tight tank top under my brace helped a lot with like the itching and stuff. And then I always wore like oversized clothing, so just like hoodies and like oversized sweatpants and stuff. I also found that doing like stretches in the morning especially helped my body open up, but also I tried to make sure when I wasn't wearing my brace to be doing something active because it otherwise, your body just gets really tensed up from staying in like one position for too long. So, yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing your answers. I'm sure many will find that very helpful.
Hi, I'm Sosie Downs. I was diagnosed with scoliosis around the age of 10, and I braced for about 6 years, and I recently stopped. And kind of like Georgia, I'm at the point where like I could do surgery, or I could live without it. So I'm like kind of deciding between that. And thank you so much for sharing your story. It was super inspiring, and helpful for someone who's considering surgery. So you mentioned that focusing on your mental health was really crucial to your recovery. That being said, do you have any specific strategies or pieces of advice that helped you stay resilient post-surgery?
Yeah, I think so. Something I started was journaling, which helped a lot. And I know it's something people just say, but writing down your thoughts, because it's not something a lot of people relate to. So, and especially if you don't have people who have gone through the same thing, it's easy to kind of just write down your thoughts and reflect on how you feel. And also just giving myself like small goals each day of like how far I wanted to get or like push myself physically because I think after surgery there was a point where I just didn't want to move and I felt unmotivated, but I knew it was important to like just constantly keep moving your body. And then just once I was clear, doing things like exercises and just stuff I loved helped a lot too.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you. And my second question is, looking back, is there a particular moment that, like during your entire journey, that stands out to you as a turning point? For example, something that made you change the way you viewed yourself or your capabilities or your strength?
Yeah, so I remember this day vividly. I think it was like 2 months post-op, and I asked my parents if I could go out with my friends because usually they didn't want me like going out alone, but they agreed. And I I went out with them for I think it was the whole day and we went to the mall and I walked around a lot and I had a lot of fun. And I remember coming home and thinking, wow, I didn't like think about my back at all. It didn't hurt or it didn't bother me. So I guess that was just kind of a turning point that okay, things are going to be like normal now and it's not something I have to like keep worrying about.
Thank you for sharing.
Hi, I'm Mara Pauline. I was a scoliosis patient. I was diagnosed when I was around 10 years old. I wore a back brace for about a year and a half before we discovered that it wasn't working. And so I ended up having a spinal fusion surgery back in 2011. So my first question is when we talk about our stories, we talk a lot about the tough times and the challenges, which rightfully so. It's a really challenging journey that we've all been through. But I'm just curious if there were any positives that you took away from your scoliosis journey. So it could be anything, just like a new hobby that you picked up during your recovery and have still continued with, or even just an activity or a person that you gained a new appreciation for.
Yeah, I definitely had some positive moments. I think I'm able to listen to my body a lot better too now. 'Cause I like stand like the pain I went through before and when something's not normal. Um, a new hobby I got was definitely yoga. It helped a lot when I was bracing, but I kept doing it after my surgery and now it's just something consistent I do all the time. And I think I also appreciate my parents much more. I mean, I never really thought of how much they've done for me, but going back to think about it, they were like there for me ever since I was 4. They went to every appointment and especially after the surgery, so I think I gained a new like appreciation for them.
Mhm. My next question is, so what was either A, the most unexpected part of your journey, or B, something you were fully expecting but didn't actually end up happening?
Um, I think I definitely expected myself to feel different like forever after the surgery. I had this like envision that I could feel like the rods in my spine or things like that. But honestly, I don't even think about it most days. And I also didn't really expect my scar to be something I like am proud of, but it's kind of I think it makes myself really interesting now. So,
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing.
thank you guys for the questions and for listening. I love talking about my story and I hope people can take things away from it. I had a lot of fun, so thank you.